Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Talked about this yesterday. It's interesting. Been doing a show with Defo for, it'll be 12 years in a week, and been happy to be a part of 5 Reasons for the last 6 months or so. So some of you knew us before. Some of you have found us. Some of you have kept going with us. Some of you are not sure about us. One thing we've been very privileged and honored to do is work with really great companies. So when they say things, we believe it, even without experiencing it. But what is cool is when you actually experience it, it's even better. And Water Cleanup of Florida, I've talked about this a lot lately. As you can tell by the way I talk, anxiety is not something that is away from me. I am one to have a lot of anxiousness and issues with my home, with my wife and I's home. Our home is number one a lot of the time when it comes to anxiety. If there's an issue with my home, our home, it stresses me out because a lot of the time that falls on me to try and figure it out. She's busy, and, I know a lot of people, whatever the reasoning is, a lot of the time I'm the one that figures out what's wrong with our home and how do we get it fixed. And that stresses me out. And like I've said, just knowing Water Cleanup of Florida is out there has made my stress levels go down. Well, we found some issues in our home, and who did I call right away? Water Cleanup of Florida. And what's cool is they talk about 24 hours a day they're available. And I believe it. But a lot of companies say that, and I've experienced it myself, where you call them and even they'll answer, but they'll say they call you back, and then you don't hear from them. Or you call and you get a voicemail, which I don't mind. Look, they're probably busy, which is cool. But when you get the voicemail and you leave the voicemail, you want to hear from them, right? Like, that's important. You won't. You'll hear from them later in the day, and who knows what was wrong with your house, or the next day, or days later, or you'll never hear from them. I reached out to Water Cleanup of Florida. They're busy. I instantly get a message. We'll call you right back. And before I can message back, I get a call. I've never had that experience with companies. And I've dealt with a lot of companies that do a really good job. But usually, when they say something, they don't mean it. It was really cool to see Water Cleanup of Florida is about what they say. We already have an appointment. They're already going to come out and deal with our problem, where they will not only look at the problem, they'll fix it. And that's another great thing about Water Cleanup of Florida. With licensed contractors, you don't have to go to a million different places. You go to one place and get the job done nice and easy. Plus, with over 60 years of experience, when they talk, you listen. I was talking to Michael, one of the co-owners, and what's cool is a lot of the time they'll also use these terms and try and confuse you. He was really laid back, really good dude. Look, I've known him for a long time. We're family friends, but I have never dealt with him in this fashion, so I'm a sports dude. I don't know. When it comes to fixing stuff in the house, believe me, I'm not great with that stuff. So I get lost. I never got lost. Like, he was simple, clean, concise, made sure I understood what was going on, made me feel a lot better. We made that appointment. He's going to come out personally, which is really cool. And this isn't just a Lubie thing. Like, this is what they do for everyone. And it made me happy. It made me feel better about the situation. My wife, most importantly, was happy that it's under control and it's going to get handled. And they will do the same thing for you. You can call them 24/7. I promise you, it worked for me. It will work for you. 954-579-0356. 954-579-0356. For Water Cleanup of Florida. You can also reach them on the website, WCUFL.com. If you mention 5 Reasons or Lubie, for 5 Reasons or Lubie, you'll get a free inspection during business hours. Check them out on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Water Cleanup FL. Water Cleanup of Florida. We clean up your schmutz. We love our Heat. We love our basketball. This gentleman knows his basketball as well as anyone. Longtime professional player, coach of the Detroit Pistons few years ago, turned author. The one and only Ray Scott joins us today. Good morning, good afternoon, Ray. How you doing?
Good morning, gentlemen, down there in Miami.
All right, so the NBA in Black and White is a memoir of a trailblazing NBA player and coach, Ray Scott. Before we get to other things, I do want to talk about that. What got you to put your experiences, your history, your life into a memoir, into a book? What was your motivation and got you to finally go and do that? Because the book is tremendous.
That's a great statement when you say finally go and do that, because it was something that I fought off for years and years and years. But what really got to it got me to do it, not to it, but to do it was Charlie Rosen, my co-author, the guy that worked with me. Out of New York, he and I teamed up because he had written Phil Jackson's book, and as everybody knows, that was a hit. That book was a hit, and it became a TV piece that he did on Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. I think that once they piled up and you start reflecting, you get to a certain age where you start reflecting on your life. And when I reflected on my life, I looked at it in parallels. And I came about as a professional basketball player at 22 years of age. And then I was looking back from the basketball playing, but the country. And it was such an interesting dichotomy because of the shape of the country. We were going from segregation to integration. We had our first Catholic president, and he made pronouncements about civil rights and voters' rights. And he didn't make it happen, but he certainly laid the groundwork for Lyndon Baines Johnson, his successor, because he was unfortunately assassinated in our lore. And so when you looked at the 60s, all of these things were beginning. We had Dr. King and Malcolm X and along with JFK, and then you had the H. Rap Browns and these extraordinary people. Medgar Evers. I don't like to leave anyone out because Viola Liuzzo from Detroit, who just a lady that went from Detroit to Mississippi to just drive people to vote and register to vote. That's all she was doing, and she was murdered. So all of those things were just happening in my life as a 22-year-old, 22 to say 30 years old, up to 1970. All of these things were happening. And I'm a professional basketball player, and I'm on a court with Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, Elgin Baylor, Oscar Robertson, all of these great players who were reshaping basketball, professional basketball.
Yeah.
And it just quickly, the reshaping went up to the 70s, mid-60s actually, with Bill Bradley and Cazzie Russell. They came into the league. That was two glamorous names after those four that I spoke of. And then magically, in the 70s, almost 80s, we got Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. And when those two players came, that changed basketball forever. And so that's where me personally, I was just outdone. To see these guys bring television and to the masses and professional basketball. That was just, I don't know, I just thought that was an incredible period. But that's how I got there. Those were the things that I had in my mind when I wrote my book.
Ray, it's interesting, and so often we hear the term culture when it comes to sports, and you played, coach 60s, 70s, been around the game, and what I find cool is you talk about the game not only then, but now, and so often we're out of South Florida, the Heat culture is not only just some expression that's thrown around, it's gotten to the point where people just have accepted it as a tangible thing, like it's not intangible, it's real. When you hear Heat culture, when you think about the Miami Heat, the culture down here, and just teams, the Celtics, 60s, 70s, 80s, the Lakers when they were great, the Pistons in the 80s. When you think about great cultures, what does that mean to you as a guy who was a coach and a player for so long?
Well, that's a very good question, and I'll tell you why. We established in Detroit in 1989 and 90, as you know, the Bad Boys established professional basketball in Detroit as something that fans would come out and support and have great interest in. And again, television, great spectator crowds, but just think about the television and that game going all over Michigan, just like in Miami. The game's going all over Florida, even though you had multiple teams.
Yeah.
And I played in Miami. I saw the beginning of that when I played at that arena there I remember the Jackie Gleason stuff and all of that. But I played in Miami and lived on Miami Beach, and I went to the Fontainebleau because I wanted to go to any place Frank Sinatra went to. So I just wanted to walk through the lobby and say, I walked through the lobby that Frank Sinatra walked through. But it was the culture. It took a long time to hit. When it hit Miami, when it hit Detroit, it was like something you'd never seen before. You know, from people wearing all of the clothing and the horns and the support and the radio shows, the explosion was incredible. So in both places that you spoke of, Lou, it's been fabulous. It's been fabulous.
Ray, it's funny, it's our second conversation in a week, and I feel like I could go on for hours. We don't have that time. You are a busy, busy man, but we thank you for giving us your time. The book, The NBA in Black and White, the memoir of a trailblazing NBA player and coach, the one and only Ray Scott. Ray, hopefully we get to talk to you again soon. Good luck on the book, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lou. Bye-bye.
Bye. So that's the thing is, and I know here we love our Heat, and the draft's tonight. I can talk NBA year-round. Defo mocks me for that. Again, Defo show with Lubie. No Defo today. Just Lubie. That was Ray Scott, long-time NBA player, NBA coach, ABA player as well. Now author. And the book is really interesting. It talks about equality a lot. Like he was playing in the 60s as an African-American. So he was one of the early African-Americans into the NBA. He was drafted into professional basketball. He played a lot of his career in the ABA, did play in the NBA a little bit, and then coached in the NBA and coached elsewhere. And I just got me thinking about culture. This Heat culture is a thing. A lot of the time, like, sports media people will throw out these terms, and or athletes, even coaches, will throw out culture, and it sounds like some stupid intangible term, like a term you can't touch. It's whatever, he's a winner and he's a loser, and okay, he's a winner, he's on a great team. Like, put that guy on a crappy team, I'm sure he's not winning. Like that's sort of a lot of garbage. That's not really tangible. Well, when it comes to the Heat, it's gotten to the point where it is tangible. Literally, the Heat were at a loss, were a disaster. Jimmy Butler bought in. It wasn't the LeBron, they were going to go win right away. The Heat weren't set up to win right away. Like, they weren't. Like, they were maxed out. They had a lot of bad contracts. Jimmy Butler hadn't proven himself to even be a number one guy yet. He was the supposed third guy with the Sixers, even though he did have the best playoff run on that team and was the main reason why they almost beat the eventual champion Raptors that year. But still, the idea when he came down to Miami was they're still not going to win. They're a joke. But the fact that it's tangible. Like, they've done this now a bunch of times under Riley. Well, they know how to scout. They know how to take guys that are sort of also-rans and make them real deal NBA players. They know how to. They used to suck at drafting. They gotten better at drafting, and they've just been able to find a way to win consistently. And not every organization does that, especially in sports and especially in the NBA. When tanking became such a legitimate thing in the Heat, for a while, I thought they should tank. They didn't. They believed in their culture, and it sounds ridiculous and it sounds obnoxious, but it's become tangible. It's become consistent. It's become something that people around the league not only believe in, they throw it out there like it's just a part of the verbiage when it comes to the NBA. So I just find it interesting to get NBA people, basketball people, to talk about it, because it is a real thing. And it is something that, it's why, look, each and every year they're not only a contender, where last year people thought they'd be a 5-6 seed. They were not only the 1 seed, they were banged up. They should not have gone to 7 with the Celtics once Hero was out and Butler was on one leg and Tucker was not himself. And they went to Game 7, 1 shot away from being in the finals. And it was a lot of Jimmy Butler, but it was also a lot of what Eric Spoelstra is, a guy that grew up in the Heat system. A lot of what they do behind the scenes with Ellisberg. And that's the funny thing is Riley gets all the credit. I think Riley would be the first one to tell you that Nick Arison and Spoelstra and Ellisberg and all the people that they have that work on personnel are as good as anyone, not in the league, not in America, in sports. Like, they just do a great job, So, to me, it is a tangible thing, and I don't feel bad bringing it up to real NBA people because they're the ones that say it. They're the ones that embrace it. So, Ray Scott, the book is out. Check it out. The NBA in Black and White. And I did want to touch on the Heat a little bit. I can't do Heat every day right now. Look, I don't think they're even allowed. Like, even when they're allowed to sign people, it doesn't automatically happen, but fine. You want to speculate, cool. To me, to speculate the speculation, like they literally, teams can't sign anyone right now. I think there was a trade made yesterday. Jeremy Grant, who was rumored to be one of the Heat's second-tier guys they were after, after you get past Donovan Mitchell and Bradley Beal, and I think Zach LaVine's going to stay with the Bulls, but those top-notch dudes, Jeremy Grant's turned himself into a nice tertiary, solid role to starting big. In the NBA, like a stretch big guy. So, and the Heat need that. The Heat need a guy that they can pair with Bam, put in place of Bam, vice versa. Let Bam play center. Let Bam play 4. Let this guy play center or 4. And PJ Tucker is a guy they were doing with that. He's a little undersized for that. But PJ Tucker might not be here. Like, teams are actually positioning themselves to try and get Tucker. And as they should. Tucker was, for a guy that was a signing that no one talked about, he hurt the Bucks a lot. And he helped the Heat a lot. So I hope the Heat are still in it. And a lot of people think he opted out to try and get a longer deal to stay with the Heat because he doesn't want to be here. But the Heat are cash strapped, and the Heat do want to go big. So if you put a lot of money into a Tucker long term, when another team goes after him, you sort of can't afford it. So we'll see what happens with Tucker. But that leaves that role. Well, Jeremy Grant was traded yesterday from the Pistons. But to me, like, the Heat, I can't talk about this every day because nothing can really happen outside of that. You can make some trades. You're not really, I don't think signing free agency really opens until early July. And even trades, you don't see a lot of. Now, tonight, the only reason I'm interested in the draft, especially from Heat's perspective, because they have the 27th pick, and we know when not only they're sort of weird with the draft, they've gotten better when it's a lottery pick. They'll care about that pick. But later in the draft, they sort of don't care. But the trades the Heat have been talked about, for the most part, for trying to get someone, have revolved around Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and that pick. So it sort of intrigued me because if the Heat are going to do anything, doing nothing tonight doesn't mean they're standing pat. No. I mean, they could do nothing tonight, but still they have Hero and Robinson and future picks. So I believe they'll do something. The fact that they didn't go and get Jeremy Grant, the fact that they didn't go get some of these other guys that have already been signed or been traded for, sort of leads you to believe they're leaving a spot for possibly, a big move. But the fact that first round pick has been rumored to be in trades, it seems like maybe we've seen the Heat do stuff on draft night and not just drafting, like making moves. So I am intrigued in that, and I do think it is relevant to talk about it. But I'm not going to lie to you all. I know here on 5 Reasons we love our Heat. You know we love our Heat here. Look, the offseason just started this week. Like, the finals ended last week. So to sit here and talk Heat year round, to me, is not something we can do every day. I can't promise you that. But because some people will comment, well, this is a really crappy Heat podcast. And I'm like, oh, you really haven't listened to anything we do. Yeah, we don't do a Heat podcast. We do a lot of South Florida sports, and that's why we love 5 Reasons, because it's really become the home of South Florida sports. So we really love the partnership and love being here, and appreciate everyone that's found us here on 5 Reasons Sports, the Defo show with Lubie. We've been doing a show for over a decade, and happy to have our South Florida content here. But we don't just do Heat. And that gets funny. South Florida, because the Dolphins and the Marlins and the Panthers and the Canes, football and even baseball, and has been the last 20 years. Yeah, it seems like they're getting their act together now, but it's been The Heat have been constant. My age and younger only cares about the Heat. And I appreciate that, because the Heat are the only saving grace. But there is other stuff going on, so we will talk Dolphins and we will talk Canes, because both are exciting right now. The Panthers were the number 1 seed. They did hire a coach yesterday, a guy that no one had talked about, and he's never won, and he wasn't even coaching in the NHL last year, when there's other coaches out there that have coached and had success, Barry Trotz, that have turned around teams or taken teams to the next level. So, of course, the Panthers signed the guy that no one talked about and no one wanted, Paul Maurice. Good job, Panthers. But these teams seem to be getting their act together. But we do love our Heat, and I did want to talk about it a little bit. So I'm glad Ray Scott, former NBA coach, longtime professional basketball player, and author of the NBA in Black and White, was able to join us. I did want to touch on what's going on with the Heat. Jeremy Grant was traded from the Pistons yesterday. A guy the Heat were looking at, a guy people thought they could get. But one thing that was weird to me is, like, when a team loses a guy, I like to see how the fans react. Now, look, fans don't know everything. But I saw a lot of Pistons people, for some reason, not wanting the Pistons to keep Jeremy Grant. They're a bad team, right? They need talent. They had Cunningham last year, the first-round pick, and he was hurt a lot, and then in the second half when he played, he looked really good. So that might be a piece. Jeremy Grant changed his game. So you would think Pistons fans would want him. No. Pistons fan bitched that he was already getting overpaid for what he did, and he's done enough where he's going to get a bigger deal. When Pistons fans don't want a guy and they need talent, it's like, okay, do we really want that guy? So in a way, I'm not going to lie, I'm sort of happy the Heat didn't get in that sweepstakes. Like, yeah, the Heat could have put together a better trade. They could have. I'm glad they didn't. It feels like they're trying to go big. Like, they were really close to winning it all this year. If they were healthy, I think they could have beaten the Warriors. The reason I thought the Warriors would have beaten them in 6 if they had gone past the Celtics was because they weren't healthy. Even if Butler never got hurt, Hero was not healthy and wasn't going to be healthy. Tucker was not healthy, wasn't going to be healthy. Lowry was not healthy, wasn't going to be healthy. And you needed all those guys to beat the Warriors. Now, the way the Celtics took them to 6 and the Heat, I think we're the better team. The Heat totally banged up. Almost beat the Celtics. We're a shot away. They probably still would have gotten to 5 or 6, but I don't think they would have won. Now, healthy, I think they would have. Well, just think if they go get a dude. Now, I would love for them to find a reason to find a way financially to keep Oladipo because he showed so much signs of life on defense that it feels like he's healthy for the first time in 3 years. So, he's still young enough, like late 20s, early 30s. He has an off season to really work on his offense again. He can go back to being an all-star. So then you have Bam, all-star caliber player who's been an all-star. Butler, who's taken himself into the top 10 conversation. He is an all-NBA player, especially the way he played in the playoffs, even though they screwed him out of that. You have Hero still, because you wouldn't have to trade Hero if you just keep Oladipo, who, as 6th man of the year, actually scored almost as much as Butler, so would be an all-star caliber player. And you now have Oladipo, who's been an all-NBA player, and after his first healthy offseason in 3 years, he'd be your 4th real deal all-star caliber player. What other team has that? So to me, if you can somehow financially find a way to keep Oladipo, that'd be cool. Problem is, what he showed, someone who just has a lot of money to throw at a player, like one of the teams, will probably give Oladipo a lot of money that the Heat can't match. So you probably will lose Oladipo. But they're not going to lose on Oladipo and not do something. Like, they're just not. Like, Jimmy Butler is in his early 30s, and the wear and tear on his body from his Bulls days, and even some of the stuff he did with the T-Wolves and the Sixers, and now with the Heat, we know he's 32, but his body's a lot older. He's in his prime still. Look, he's firmly now in his prime. This is the best basketball of his career. He is a clear number 1 and can be a number 1 on a team that wins a title. He's been to the finals, went to Game 7 on one leg, and even with them losing, he should have been the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Like, he was like LeBron type stuff where, like, Tatum was good, Butler was better. And even in a loss, the way that series went, I wouldn't have been surprised if Butler won. He, of course, didn't, but it's the new awards to give you a Western Conference, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Butler sort of deserved it. So Butler's gotten into that top 10, definitively top 15 conversation. You got to win with him here. And you know what the Heat, like Riley has said it, like Riley doesn't want to leave until the Heat's in good hands. They're in good hands now, but he wants to make sure they're secure. He wants to make sure they have young guys that will take it to the next few years. And you want to win now. Butler only has, you would say, 2 to 3 years at this level, maybe 4. You can't waste that. So the Heat aren't going to. They're going to do something. It feels like Beal and Mitchell, the rumors have come out there enough, and both are in situations that they're not going to win going forward. Like, the Jazz sort of tapped out. Mitchell's not happy there. And you have a lot of young teams in the West that are really going to get, they've already gotten better in the Mavs and the Nuggets and the Grizzlies. They're going to take, and the T-Wolves. And the T-Wolves are 4 young teams that are going to get even better. And the Jazz, it feels like are going to get worse. And now have a new coach. It's just, it feels like Mitchell's not complaining for just zero reason. So at some point, that seems like something's going to happen there. And Beal, look, he likes the money. He likes DC. But you got to see what's going on in the East. There's a lot more talent in the East. The teams are a lot better. It feels like it's going to be really hard for the Wizards to do anything. And Beal's getting to that part of his career where he's going to get money anywhere. And you want to start winning. And he wants to win there. But at some point, you got to realize, look, even LeBron, who could win by himself, wasn't winning in Cleveland and had to realize, I got to get out of here. It feels like at some point, Beal may say, I wonder. So those two names, there's been enough rumors between those two in Miami. Nothing's definite, but it feels like something could happen there. So we shall see. It is Heat off season, which is just as exciting as the regular season. So we will still talk lots of Miami Heat here on the Defo Show with Lubie. I can promise you that. We will also talk lots of Dolphins because I am excited about what's to come. The Miami Hurricanes have done so much in this offseason that it should be an interesting football season for them. Of course, Panthers. And, of course, the Marlins are winning. Marlins, look at them, taking 2 in a row from the Rockies in last late inning fashion. More of that to come. Check us out each and every morning. Just search the Defo Show with Lubie on Google or YouTube. South Florida Live. Search South Florida Live on Google or YouTube. And we are 7 to 9 live, so check that out there. Our national exclusive content goes on the Believe Network, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And each and every day, our South Florida Sports Hub, South Florida Sports Home, your South Florida Sports Home, the Defo Show with the Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.